Hey, I'm Nick and I recently got this beautiful rack of pork spare ribs and I knew I had to do it justice. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I turned it into the most tender, juicy, fall off the bone barbecue without using a grill or a smoker. But don't worry, I'll show you how I still got that incredible smoky flavor. I'll walk you through the simple techniques that make all the difference, plus a bonus barbecue sauce that takes it to the next level. Let's get into it. Spare ribs are one of my favorite cuts of meat. The marbling, fat content and collagen all work together to create incredibly tender, juicy bites, especially when slow cooked just right. This one was trimmed minimally. You can still see a lot of skin. I don't mind that at all. In fact, I appreciate it. We're using it as it is. All that fat will render down during the long cooking, keeping the meat moist and packed with flavor. Back in the day at my old job, I used to braise these in a rich flavorful stock, then finish them on the grill with a citrusy pineapple barbecue sauce. Man, that was something special. But today, we're taking a different approach, something simpler but just as good. This is around a kilo or about 2.5 pounds. First, I'm going to remove the excess moisture. That helps the season stick better. Then we'll season it nice and simple. We're starting with salt. Remember, the thicker the meat, the more salt you'll need. Black pepper comes next. Garlic powder. For a deeper flavor, I'm adding a light touch of mustard powder. I'm using regular paprika here, but smoked paprika would definitely be a bonus. I just couldn't find it. This is fresh ginger paste I made by grating some ginger. I'll be honest though, the moisture from the ginger made it clump a bit. Next time I'll handle this differently, but it still works out. Make sure you season every inch of the spare ribs, even those stubborn corner ends. They need a little bit of finesse. Yup, that's nicely seasoned. I'm placing this in the fridge uncovered for a couple of hours so it stays dry and we can get a nice sear later. While it chills, we've got plenty of time to focus on the next key part of this recipe. This barbecue sauce is ridiculously simple. You can whip this up in about 10 to 15 minutes and that even includes prep time. It comes together with a few easy to find ingredients, giving you a rich mellow flavor that works with just about anything. I'll also show you how I get that smoky flavor. Start with 1 cup of ketchup. This is the backbone, adding body and acidity. Next, 1/4 cup pineapple juice for those fruity notes. 1/4 cup apple cider vinegar for some tang. 1/4 cup soy sauce for that deep savory balance. 1/4 cup brown sugar to bring in some sweetness. About 1.5 teaspoons of cumin powder. A tablespoon of mustard powder. Then 2 tablespoons of chili powder for a bit of heat. This turned out pretty mild, but you can adjust it to your taste. Now, 2 tablespoons of freshly grated ginger. This pairs beautifully with pork. For extra depth, I'm adding a bay leaf and a few cloves. Cloves gives us a subtle fragrant note. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. This next ingredient, I've been pretty stubborn about it in the past, but it's one way to bring in that smoky flavor. I usually avoid products with liquid smoke. It's often overpowering and lacks the depth of real wood smoke. I don't like eating something and immediately being able to tell that it has liquid smoke in it. But if you use it right, it can still work. The trick is to keep it subtle. The smoke should be more of an aftertaste than the main event. I'm using just under a teaspoon, but we can always taste and adjust later. Next, mix everything together until it's well incorporated. Give it a quick taste. It needs a little salt, but it's already tasting really good. You could use this as a no-cook barbecue sauce, but let's take it to the next level. Now, heat up a saucepan on medium heat. Add a splash of oil. Here's another way to bring out a subtle smoky flavor. Add 1/4 cups of brown sugar and let it melt. Caramelizing the sugar gives the sauce a deeper flavor with just a hint of smokiness. This is why homemade browning works so well. It brings a richer taste to so many dishes. Let it cook until it becomes light and frothy. I'm using a lager beer to stop the caramelization. This is red stripe and it adds an amazing flavor. I'm using about 1/4 cup. Let that go for another minute or two, then we can add the barbecue mixture. I let it simmer for about 5 minutes. This helps infuse the flavors of the bay leaf and cloves, allowing everything to meld together even better. Alright, let's set that aside for now and check back on our spare ribs. I originally planned to use a pot, but then I remembered my stove has a griddle that's perfect for this next step. Let's get that ripping hot. Now, let's check on the pork that's been chilling for a few hours. This recipe does take a while, but most of this is hands-off time. This whole process takes between 4 and 8 hours, depending on how quickly you cook your spare ribs, but the active time is only about 45 minutes. I'll dive more into that in a bit, but for now, let's get this seared off. I'm going to add a splash of oil to the griddle and spread it around. The spare rib goes on next. The goal here is to get a nice sear and some good browning. And a quick note, this is why I wouldn't recommend using grated ginger. It tends to clump and prevent a good sear. Plus it burns easily. Next time I'll use ginger powder, or maybe even skip it entirely since there's already plenty of ginger in the sauce. Searing isn't totally necessary, you could even skip this to save some active time. But it really helps to kick things off with great flavor early on. There are a few ways to roast this. If you're short on time, roasting at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 to 2.5 hours will get the job done. But you won't get that fall off the bone tenderness I'm aiming for. For that super tender fall off the bone goodness, you'll want to go low and slow. 270 degrees Fahrenheit for about 3.5 to 4.5 hours. That's my go-to, but if you want a good balance of tenderness and time saving, roasting at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 3 hours works too. Just keep in mind that the size of the ribs plays a role in cook time, so it could vary a bit. About 30 to 40 minutes in, I'm pulling this from the oven. I'm going to glaze it with the barbecue sauce we made earlier. The juices in the pan are packed with flavor, so I'll pour those into the sauce to capture every bit of it. 40 minutes in might seem early for a glaze in a 3 to 4 hour roast, but I love that deeply caramelized barbecue sauce I get by starting now. Glazing along with the fat helps to keep the surface from drying out. If I wasn't glazing it periodically, what I would do is wrap it in foil for part of the roasting time. Wrapping in foil traps the moisture and keeps the meat from drying out during long cooking. A thermometer is super helpful for checking doneness. I'm aiming for an internal temperature of around 195 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Just check periodically to track the process. If you're not using a thermometer, there are still a few signs to look out for. The bones should twist easily and you'll feel the meat give when you apply pressure. Or you can cut a small piece from the thickest section to test it. And we're done. We've just hit our target temperature. The smell, incredible. That sauce has caramelized perfectly, creating a sticky savory flavor bomb. And I'm pretty sure it's just melting your mouth goodness under all that. After a quick 10 to 15 minutes rest, I'm going to cut into this to show you how we did. Locating the bone first makes cutting this way easier. Yes man, that's definitely soft and juicy. It's a bit challenging to cut, but that's a good sign in my book. Alright, let's dig in. That's the thin end, but it's still wonderfully moist. Yes, that is it. So tender and flavorful. It's incredibly rich, perfectly smoky and savory, with that caramelized sauce bringing a delicious subtle sweet kick that pairs perfectly with the pork. Oh, and I forgot to do the bone twist test, but I think this makes up for it. So there you have it, how to turn a beautiful rack of ribs into an unforgettable barbecue. As usual, this was delicious. Big shout out to our patrons who keep us cooking. Your support means a lot. Will you be trying this? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and before you go, check out this next video right here. Catch you in the next one.